Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate on News Talk, KGVO. Hi, and thank you for joining us. Like you do every weekend, we hope, you're on News Talk, KGVO on Missoula Real Estate Today. And our guest this week is Clint Burson. Clint is Director of Government Affairs with the Missoula Area Chamber of Commerce. And, of course, we continue to practice social distancing by doing these over the phone. Clint, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Terrific. I'm sure glad you could find some time for us. First, how are you conducting business during the whole coronavirus closures and pandemic and everything?
Well, the chamber staff has been hard at work every day, but we are working from home. We do have a couple of staff members that go into the office from time to time to check the mail and make sure that the lights are still working. But most of us are working from home full time, and we're just now starting to talk about getting back into the office on a more regular basis.
Oh, very good. I'm sure everybody's happy about that. What all is the Missoula Area Chamber of Commerce Director of Government Affairs primarily responsible for?
A little bit of everything, it seems like these days. But in normal times, my job is to work with and help monitor city, county, state, and federal government and make sure that any issues that come up before any of those bodies are known to our membership as well as the greater business community. And then also I advocate on behalf of the business community. So if there's a position that needs to be taken and our board of directors make their opinion known, then it's my job to go out and share that with legislators and government officials so that the voice of business is out there, and also it serves as a nice kind of buffer between businesses and government. So if they don't want to put their name out there and risk their business, then they have someone that can advocate on their behalf.
And how you made your way to the Chamber of Commerce, what interested you in the position, and how did you acquire that?
Well, it started a really long time ago. When I was in college, I was a debater, and that really kind of sparked an interest in public policy for me. So I took kind of a roundabout path to end up where I am today, but that's where it all started. And then I spent nearly a decade working in media. I was a copy editor and editorial writer for the Valley Republic down in Hamilton. And when the position opened up at the Missoula Area Chamber of Commerce, I jumped on it. I have a bachelor's degree in communication and a master's degree in communication as well. So it seemed like a really good fit for me as someone who is really good at communicating to take that and help advocate for small business and business folks in Missoula.
Gosh, I could have taken the week off and let you interview you with all that journalist background, right?
I guess, but it's nice to have someone else ask the questions.
Yeah. You're working for one of my old high school classmates, by the way, and Kim Luttrell.
Well, that ages you a little bit, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Kim's been at the chamber for, I think, 47 years now, so she's well versed in every aspect of chamber life, and she's a really great person to work for. She's really given me an opportunity to grow and learn, and she really helps kind of guide me along my path in my career. But she's also just a really good person, a really good friend, and someone great to have in your corner.
Yeah. Kim and I are proud graduates of dear old Hellgate High. Well, besides Kim and, of course, yourself, what other positions make up the Missoula Area Chamber of Commerce?
Sure. So there are 7 people total in our office. There's, of course, Kim Luttrell, who's our CEO.
Right.
She's our fearless leader. We also have a CFO, so someone that handles all the books and makes sure that the money goes to the right places. We have a director of membership, and his name is Mark Walsh, and he's basically the person that goes out and talks to members and finds new members for us. He's had a rough job during this period of being shut in, but he's soldiering through and making his best effort at it. We also have a director of member engagement, and her responsibility is once Mark brings them into the chamber, she makes sure that they're using all their benefits, make sure that if they have any questions about being a chamber member, she can answer it for them and really kind of help them along the path in being a chamber member. Then we also have our director of operations, and she kind of serves as Kim Luttrell's kind of right hand. They work real closely together and make sure that everything keeps running and help bring in new employees and all of that. And then we also have someone at the front desk who, when we're normally open, she greets folks that drop into the office for whatever reason, and then also helps answer phones, direct all of our calls, and helps us keep doing our job. So we can get overloaded with some of our work, and anything that she can do to help us out, she does, and really makes our lives a lot better.
Man, a busy bunch. This is Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate, and our guest, Clint Burson, Director of Government Affairs, Missoula Area Chamber of Commerce. Clint, what is the perception of the chamber or a chamber? If you had to explain to somebody who's rather uncertain what all you provide to community, how do you tackle that?
Well, the first thing I generally have to tell people is that we are not a government agency.
Yeah, that's what came to my mind, too.
Yeah, a lot of people think that we're a part of Missoula government, and we're not. We get actually zero funding from the government. All of our funding comes from our members and events that we put on. So we do a whole lot of work for our members. We start with what people think are kind of the traditional roles of the chamber, and those are kind of the networking events. So we do a business after hours every month where we bring together a couple hundred business folks at different locations throughout the community. Everyone gets together, they talk, they chat, they get to hang out, have a beer, have a drink. It's a really good time, and gives our members an opportunity to kind of show off their business and welcome business folks from around the community. We also have other networking events throughout the month. We have a Missoula Young Professionals event, which is a lot like business after hours, but it's geared toward folks that are maybe not as far along in their career. We don't, even though it says young professionals, we like to say it's anyone that's 21 to young at heart. So it's open to pretty much anyone, but it's folks that are generally a little bit earlier on in their career. And then we also have a coffee and conversation event that we hold once a month, and we do that one in the morning, and that allows folks that aren't able to make an afternoon or evening networking event join together with other business professionals at a different business location. So that's the kind of what folks traditionally think. And then the other half is a lot of business advocacy. So we work to solve community issues. Over the past year, we've worked on a few different initiatives. One is helping folks that are facing addiction in the workplace, helping employers figure out how do you handle and help out employees who are dealing with addiction, and then also working with a group called the Fourth D Club to kind of stabilize their situation and help them find a good, clean path forward to helping those that are dealing with addiction. We've also worked with the state and the local schools on a Workforce Connections event. Basically, we heard from a lot of folks that high school counselors were having a hard time helping students pick a career path and find out how they get into that career path, mostly because they're really busy dealing with a lot of other bigger issues these days. It's not like when the older generation was in school and a guidance counselor could actually help direct you and how you get into a job and had connections on it, getting you there. Now they're dealing a lot more with things like student homelessness and behavioral issues and mental health crises. So we wanted to put together an event that would kind of build those bridges and kind of provide that knowledge for high school guidance counselors. So what we do is we bring counselors into a room with a bunch of businesses once a year, and we help them understand what it looks like for students that aren't interested in necessarily a 4-year degree. So we bring in a lot of the trades businesses, but then a lot of other businesses in the community that will help students get through school or provide training for them, on-the-job training, apprenticeships, those kinds of situations where a student can go from high school straight into the workforce and have a meaningful and well-paying career. And then the third initiative that we've been working on really heavily, and a lot of your listeners have probably heard our work on this one, is childcare. For workers in Missoula, it's really hard to find childcare, and it's even harder to be able to find affordable and quality childcare. So we've been working with a number of groups around the community, including Childcare Resources, Missoula Early Learning Center, a bunch of other providers as well, basically trying to find ways that we can increase the amount of affordable and quality childcare so that folks who want to go to work after having a child have a place for their kids to be that they feel comfortable with and that they can afford. So those are the kind of the three big issues. And then the final one I'll mention, and I'm sure we'll talk more in depth about this one, is we had a pretty large role in helping Missoula County secure the build grant in 2019.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that's the county applied for $23 million. We brought home $13 million. But the chamber had a pretty large role in helping with the lobbying effort with that. We put together a trip to Washington, D.C. last year and took a bunch of folks with us. Had a group of 19 that went and talked to all of our congressional delegation as well as officials from the U.S. Department of Transportation, and had a pretty good outcome with that. We were the only build grant awarded in Montana last year, and we brought $13 million out of that 23 that we applied for, and now this year we're getting to work on the second round, so we're going after the remaining $10 million to build out that area kind of west of between Mullen and Broadway and west of Reserve.
You know, I'll skip down a little bit because last week we had Jeremy Keene, Director of Public Works for the city of Missoula, and he spent a lot of time talking about that, the build grant, of course, and the Mullen Area Master Plan, which when you look at it as a master plan, Clint, it is absolutely immense, and you've talked about some of the ways you're staying actively involved with all of that, but I guess based on what you've told me, you're pretty much committed to that for the long run. Yeah,
we definitely are. We jumped in with both feet, and we have no intention of getting out of it until the projects are done. It's an area that's prime for growth for our community. It can provide a lot of workforce housing, and that's something that's really important to our business members is that when they're looking to recruit people, they need to have places where they can get a house and start their families and live close to where they work. And so that area is one of the last main areas that we have for good development, and we want to make sure that we do it right and that it's funded right, and so that those homes are affordable for the average worker.
Do you like all or most of everything you've seen with that Mullen Area Master Plan so far?
It's hard to say. There are a lot of good pieces of it, and we like the direction that it's going. Any official determination would have to be decided by our board of directors, but I think they're really encouraged that the city and county are both very open to kind of the conversation that we're having with them, and it's been a really good process so far in terms of offering comments and suggestions and getting that heard by the planners and city and county staff.
Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guest, Clint Burson, with the Missoula Area Chamber of Commerce. And when you were talking about the Chamber of Commerce team, Clint, you did bring up Mark Losh, who I know as well. What is recruitment like? How do you go about keeping membership healthy?
Well, it's a kind of a never-ending process. We do a lot of things in order to make sure that our members stay happy. It's the easiest method of recruitment is to keep the people that you've already got in the building, right?
Sure.
And so we do a lot to make sure that our members, understand what their benefits are, and that's where Mark's kind of partner in all of this, Vanjie Callison, who's our director of member engagement. She reaches out to our members on a pretty regular basis and makes sure that we're touching base with them at least once or twice throughout the year, and make sure that they're aware of their benefits and how they can use them. We also communicate via emails on a weekly basis, and then government affairs emails on a quarterly basis. And Mark Losh talks to everybody. For anyone that doesn't know Mark Losh, he is quite the conversationalist, and he has no problem talking with anyone for any amount of time. So he's always in touch with our membership and making sure that any concerns that they have are brought to the rest of the team and that we address them immediately. In terms of bringing in new members, Mark has a whole network of folks that are helping him meet new member possibilities and introduce them to him.
Yeah.
And he goes out and he talks to them. During this shutdown time, it's been a lot more video calls and talks on the phone, but he continues to reach out to folks and bring them in and let them know, here's where the chamber can help you, and here's what the chamber is doing for the community. We've really put a focus on the work that the chamber does for the community that a lot of businesses would love to be involved in, but they just don't have the time. When you're talking about a small business owner, it's generally a very busy lifestyle. They're working not only the normal 40 hours a week, but they're probably working 20 to 30 hours beyond that, just making sure that they're able to keep the lights on and keep their employees paid and everything going. So they may not have time to go to city council meetings or county commissioner meetings or pay attention to what's going on at the state legislature. And that's where we come in, and we're able to kind of fill that gap for them and make it so that they don't have to spend their time doing that. We can do that for them and make sure that they stay informed and then advocate on their behalf.
Yeah, that is a natural objection, of course, the time commitment. But what kinds of other questions do you get asked from business people who are, considering establishing a presence in Missoula and might be interested in the Chamber of Commerce? Sure.
A lot of folks, that are, especially if they're coming from out of town, they just want to know what the general business climate is like. Mm-hmm. Often if they're coming to ask us about moving a business or starting a business in Missoula, they've already come at least once or twice as a visitor, just coming here to recreate. So they know all about what it's like to be in Missoula. So they want to know things about, what is the business climate like? What are the schools like for their kids? What they want to know. They want to get a sense of what's it like to live in Missoula. Is it really like when they visit Missoula? And so we try to answer all of those questions for them. And, if they're looking at moving a business, we can reach out to some of our partner organizations like the Missoula Economic Partnership or the Missoula Downtown Association and help them, answer some of those more specific business development questions in Missoula. But we can also help them out in connecting them with realtors, helping connect them with the school system and getting those questions answered as well. One of the strengths of the chamber that we really use a lot is that we're really a connector. We have connections throughout the community with, just about every business or industry sector that you can imagine, and we have close relationships with those folks. So anything that we don't know an answer to, we can get an answer to or connect those folks with the right people in order to get the information that they need.
Yeah, you use the word connector. I use the word persuader, I guess, but obviously a Chamber of Commerce is tasked with a lot of connecting and persuading to get events and businesses to come to the community. And what are some of the challenges to that for an area like Missoula? I mean, a climate, kind of a remote area. What are some of those kinds of things that you face?
So it really depends on kind of what we're looking to attract. So in terms of events, attracting events can be difficult just because we don't have significant event space. Mm-hmm. We don't have a large convention center. We don't have some of the bigger arenas or auditoriums that other communities around the country have. So that's one of the things that we've talked with a number of different folks about is how do we increase the amount of event space? And we've been in conversations a lot with Nick Dakota about his drift space that he's developing and encouraging him to make sure that it's big enough to attract things like high school sports tournaments and other outside events that require a certain amount of seating. In terms of attracting businesses here, there's a few different challenges. One has traditionally been kind of a lack of what they call Class A office space, but that has been slowly changing over the past few years as more office space has come online. They also have been challenged in the past by the lack of airline service, but again, through work of groups like MEP and the airport and the chamber, we've been able to increase that the amount of service that we get from outside the community and the number of nonstop flights to different locations around the country, and that makes it a little bit easier for businesses to travel both to Missoula and then fly out of Missoula as well when they're located here. And then the last one, which is why we got involved in a build grant, is the amount of housing. People that are bringing businesses here want to make sure that they can attract people to live here, and part of that is they have to be able to, workers have to be able afford a house. They don't want to move somewhere and have to live in an apartment for the rest of their life. They want to be able to buy a house and have a yard and be able to play with their kids in the yard and have the dog and, the whole Montana idea of being outdoors and raising your family outdoors. And so that's why we got involved in the build grant, was because we knew that was an important piece of being able to attract businesses, was having those homes that people can afford and that give them the opportunity to have that home lifestyle.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guest, Clint Burson with Missoula Area Chamber of Commerce. Also want to say thank you to some of Diane's marketing partners that helped bring you the show. Rob Fleming with Man Mortgage, Miles Link from Opportunity Bank of Montana, and Carol Blodgett from MakeItMissoula.com. Clint, the coronavirus, what are you dealing with a lot right now? What are members turning to you and asking about the most under this crisis we are in?
So it's kind of changed within the last week. So during the early stages, it was, businesses were asking kind of what should they do in terms of social distancing and the best policies. And then we had the governor's stay-at-home order. So a lot of businesses basically were looking for, helping connect them with folks that can help kind of set up from that work-from-home situation and best practices. So we've been trying to share information with folks about how to do that. The other piece that we've really worked hard on is being able to share with the community what businesses in the community are doing in order to address that. So we have a page on our website, MissoulaChamber.com, and you can find the coronavirus updates page from there. But it shares what different businesses are doing in order to interact with the public during times of shutdown. So we had a large list of restaurants about how they were handling takeout orders and to-go orders, and then a number of other businesses around the community that were deemed essential, so they were still open but had changes in the way that they were operating, and they needed help getting that information out. So we've shared all of that information throughout this shutdown. Now that the governor has started to lift that and we're starting to have kind of a cautious reopening, a lot of businesses have questions about, what does the order mean for their business? So we're trying to help them understand what that means. And then we're also working with the health department to understand what it means to have a kind of safe and effective reopening and kind of get some of these businesses open and help them still be able to bring in the revenue that they need while still maintaining appropriate social distancing and safety precautions. So we're heavy in that right now, and we're trying to help businesses figure out how do they get reopened, and then also how does the public interact with those businesses in a safe manner so that we don't see a resurgence of the virus, but we also can start to get back to normal.
Yeah. Well, since we are on a real estate show, some of the common interaction that you have with local realtors who are members of Chamber of Commerce.
Sure. So, we have a lot of realtors who are members of the Chamber of Commerce. So a lot of them we see on a regular basis at our business after hours and other networking events. The other thing that I do that helps keep us kind of connected with the realtors in Missoula is I work real closely with folks over at the Missoula Organization of Realtors. Dwight Easton over there is their Director of Government Affairs, and he and I work real closely together. I actually had a phone call with him yesterday to help work on some things together. And we just try to keep each other apprised. And again, it's one of those connection situations where we want to make sure that anyone that has questions about real estate or finding a home or interested in, being a realtor, we know how to connect them and who to connect them to and make sure that they're, finding the right information as quickly as possible.
What about your relationship with the University of Montana, Clint? How did the two of you interact?
We actually work really closely with the University of Montana. They're one of our highest level investors, and with that comes a lot of interaction between our staff and their staff. So we traditionally have a member of the university administration on our board of directors. For the past couple of years, it's been Paula Short, who works very closely with President Bodner in the university president's office. And we work with our CEO, Kim, meets with President Bodner pretty regularly, a couple of times a year at least. and then we make sure that we share any information that we have with them. We've also been working real closely to help them reach the business community in terms of all the efforts that they're making to update their recruitment tactics and procedures, and give them the feedback that we hear from the business community, but also make sure that the business community knows all the different things that they can do to help the university attract students. And then, we work right across the river from the university,
right.
So we're walking over there on a pretty regular basis just to get out and stretch our legs. We'll walk across the bridge and be on campus, and it's just a nice place to walk around. Sure.
I always like to ask my guests about success stories. You talked early in the show about some of the other projects you're involved in, but are there other things the Chamber was actively involved in recently that you are especially proud of?
Sure. We've already talked about the Bill Grant, but that was probably one of my prouder moments. That was a project that Kim kind of conceived and basically dropped on my desk and said, let's make this happen. We followed a model that had been established by the Kalispell Chamber of Commerce in terms of securing the Bill Grant and lobbying for it. And so it was my responsibility and teamwork with my coworker, Ken Hannon. And we put together that entire trip, took 19 people, which was by far the largest delegation that the Department of Transportation had seen lobbying for a Build Grant. And like I said, we were the only Build Grant awarded in Montana last year. And that's pretty significant when you look at the number of communities that were applying for those grants.
Yeah.
For us to be the only one to secure the grant was pretty significant. And so I was really proud to have done that and to have brought that money back to Missoula for the community. And I really, really enjoyed that process. The other one that I'm pretty proud of that we've worked really hard on is helping Missoula Early Learning Center secure Cold Spring School as a future home for childcare. We worked really hard with both Missoula Early Learning Center and Missoula County Public Schools to find a way to make that work and to make it happen. And that's going to be a really substantial boost in the amount of childcare available in Missoula. And Missoula Early Learning Center has been a great partner with us, and they provide really excellent care for the kids in their programs. So we're really excited to see that building get remodeled and used and be something that really serves the community again. So, like I said, we're really excited about that, and I'm pretty proud that we had a hand in that.
Yeah. Well, in our final minute and a half or so, you get to be the salesman now, Clint. What are some of the benefits of being a chamber member, and what's the best way to find out more?
Sure. So the biggest benefit for being a chamber member is that you're giving back to the community. We do a whole lot to help the business community thrive between networking events and advocacy and all the different marketing pieces that we do, both for Missoula and for the business community. It's something that most small business owners especially don't have time for and don't have a budget for. But by joining the Chamber of Commerce, they get all of that plus a whole lot more. Plus, they have 7 people working in the Chamber office that are going to do everything that they can to help them succeed in business and whatever else they want to do in the community. But mostly the 3 things that we like to say that we are is we're a catalyst for change within the community. We are and champions for the community, and we do everything that we can in order to make Missoula a better place and a great place to live, work, and play. So joining and investing in the Chamber is a great business decision, and I hope that more people will be interested in that. If they are interested, they should contact Mark Losh at the Chamber, or they can contact me, and I'll hand them off to Mark Losh or connect them to Mark Losh, as we like to say.
Clint Burson, Director of Government Affairs, Missoula Area Chamber of Commerce on Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere. Great job, Clint. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been a great time.
Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today. Contact Diane Beck with Windermere Real Estate. Email dianebeck@realtor.com or visit her website, homesinmissoula.com. That's homesinmissoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.